This morning, we have my new good friend, Elias, coming on to the show. We're going to talk about empowerment coaching, the voice that goes on our head, the judgment that we place on ourselves, and so many tips, tricks, and ideas to help us continue to find the divine, to be able to foster a community of growth and be the best version of ourselves. Elias is a real pro, whether we're looking at some of the stuff he's working on with his YouTube channel, an author of a book, or so many other services that Elias has going on, such as retreats in person and a new one coming on February 3rd online, Dropping the Mask. It's going to be a banger. Can't wait for you guys to check it out. Enjoy the morning show. Cheers, friends. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Tara Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercise to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Everyone, welcome from the beautiful state of Washington. It's 6 a.m. for my man over here. Thanks so much for coming on, Elias.
Thank you so much for having me here. Good morning to you as well. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, Elias, what you do is it's intuitive. It can be a little intense, and it takes a lot of vulnerability. I got to praise you for your work. I've really been enjoying checking out more of what you got. Before we dive into a lot of ways that we can help people kind of set themselves up, talking about this inner voice, tell me a bit about your line of work and how you even got started in empowerment coaching.
Well, I like to label myself as an intuitive motivator. And what that does is I help people to connect to their goals by having them look at what they want and educating them into what's blocking them so they can grow into their limitless possibilities. And that's why, on my website, on my banner, it always says connect, educate, and grow. I think we're always connecting to ourselves, to each other, to community, to God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to say. By educating us, I think that's how we grow. And I think that's how we become better people and better for the community. I think we're missing that in today's world about the simplicities of kindness and respect. And I think people miss out on the best you can be, and it's always about blocking themselves because of fear of success, fear of failure, fear of fill in the blank. So I started this long time ago. I really, after my parents' death, my mom died in 2000 and my dad died in 2001. I was an only child. They were older parents. My mom was 46 and my dad was 56 when they adopted me. And they actually flew to Greece to get me. There's a great story about that. But
oh, wow.
They had such great old world values, and I loved that. And after they left, I felt lost. I just 10 years it took to get out of my being stuck. I lived in Chicago at that time, and I did this great program, Pathways to Successful Living. And I learned in that program what a huge people pleaser I was. I was putting everybody else first and myself last. And after taking that program, it took about 3 years for me to get my stuff together. And I started putting myself first. I really thought that was selfish, but I understood that it was me being self-full. And how could I help other people? Well, I used to, and I'm sure you know, being in Chicago, I worked for Leo Burnett Advertising. I then went from Leo Burnett to Ed DeBevick's restaurant, that crazy 50s, 60s restaurant. I was a manager there and then got into massage school. And I was learning energy work before that. Did massage, became a massage instructor, got my business going, and people were always asking me for advice. And I said, well, this is how I see it. This is what I'm feeling intuitively. This is what I get your vibe, right?
Yeah.
And I did some life coaching training, and here it is, combining all of what I do.
Yeah.
And I've done 47 weekend retreats teaching people about
Incredible.
how they can take a step away from this and really
Yeah.
get into their heart. And I think that's the problem that we don't do in this world. We don't take time. This is so much chatter in here that we don't connect to our heart. This should be talking to this um, more often.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people, come from here, have this talk to this. We're here, this talking to this. Let's flip it. And I just said that wrong. But have our heart talk to our brain instead of our brain talking to our heart. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
It's still early. It's 6:07 here, so give
You're,
me a
I
moment to
feel
get a couple more
inspired.
sips of tea.
So coming from, it usually takes this long, arduous journey, different angles and aspects and ways of life. I mean, so you were originally born in Greece and then you were adopted over. How did that come in? Like, where did you grow up here in the States, or how did that kind of, like,
So
your
my
childhood
parent
into
my
adulthood?
my parents were born in Chicago, so they're Greek. They wanted a Greek child. My mom had 5 miscarriages.
Oh
And
wow.
here's how the spiritual piece. I'll tell you the short story. Um, my mom had a dream that she would find a baby in a blue crib with a white dove painted on it. And I was 18 months old when they adopted me. I was in 5 foster homes before the age of 18 months old.
Oh
Back in the
wow.
60s, Barbara Walters did a special about unwanted children being shipped off to the island of Cyprus. I was on the list. I was on the list to be shipped out. Feel like, the island of the misfits from
Yeah.
Rudolph and the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But that's
Yeah.
that's where I was about to go. And they wanted a kid because they were older. They wanted a kid 5 years or older. They're going through all the orphanages. They're not seeing children that they're connecting with. They drive past this orphanage, and my mom in her dream saw 2 stone pillars, 2 stone doves, and then the baby in the crib. They stop, and as my mom tells the story, there was a stone pillar with a stone dove and another stone pillar with no dove. This beige turtle dove flew on my mom's shoulder. I'm like, Mom, we call that a pigeon, but okay. It flew on her shoulder and flew off, and they walk into the orphanage, and there I am, blue crib, white dove. So my mom always tells me, she said, you were meant for us, and there's something special about you. We chose you, yes, but there's something special about you. You were made for us, and this is divine guidance. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And she said, and here's another thing: never, ever, ever take no for an answer. She said, if we did, you wouldn't be here.
Wow.
Great
That's
words to live by.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm sure so many people feel very lost and it's hard to relate. So you're able to connect with people, like you talk about connecting and growth so much and what you have to offer. And so you came in, now you're working in Chicago. Things are getting a little tougher for you. Do you mind talking about your inner voice, your kind of chatter at that state, and then what kind of helped motivate you to start taking action and applying and getting resources and education to help get you to where you are now? I mean, because I'm sure you weren't
Sure.
always, handy dandy, beautiful, sunshine,
I
compassionate
was
at
not.
6 in the morning.
No, I was not. What inspired me, honestly, truly, is my parents. And the more that I sat with being an only child, being alone, one year I did not go to my relative's house for Christmas. And I found myself sitting at home at Christmas, and I'm like, oh, the corner restaurant, Chinese restaurant, they'll be open. I'll just go there. They were closed,
Mhm.
and there I was, Christmas, and I did it to myself. Christmas with a Swanson frozen dinner and my two dogs, and I'm like, that will never ever happen again. Never
Yeah.
happen again. And that's why I always did. Um, on Christmas Day, anybody that didn't have somewhere to go, I would do a brunch if I went to my relative's house for dinner, or I would just host a dinner. And, we had about 10, 12 people. And even during COVID, I did something called Zoom for the holidays. So people would have somewhere to go, even if it was an hour with me, and talk about food. I mean, I'm Greek, so we're always going to talk about food.
Yeah.
And, anyway, so I sat there every morning and I would meditate, and I would just meditate and the thought would come into my mind, and I'm like, let me put that on Facebook. So I'd write thought of the day, blah 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 blah. And I did probably that thought of the day for about 3 years. And I had um an issue that I got sick, and I had to lay down for most of the time. I couldn't sit up for a
Oh,
while,
brutal.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it was. And I kept on hearing in my head, "It's time for you to write a book." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, book." I'm not a writer. I really am not a
Hmm.
writer. And I said, "What am I going to write about?" And what came to my mind was, "Hey, you wrote 5 years or 3 years every day, thought of the day."
Yeah.
So I downloaded all of them. I
Uh-huh.
downloaded all of them,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
these are the thoughts. So people can flip open the book, thought of
Hmm.
the day, and that's what happened. And I started going, okay, maybe, just maybe, this is something here. This is something. And I was a little bit before that, before writing the book. Some of my massage clients are like, well, you give such great advice. You should really think about doing some coaching or something. And I'm like, who's going to want to listen to me? And
Mm.
my one client said, you were able to mix up a bunch of essential oils and put it in a cream. And she's like, look at my wrists. I don't have to have an operation. There was something really cool about those essential oils. You should make it into a spray. So that's how I came up with my sprays. And
Genius.
everything just started lining up.
Hmm.
Sprays. Then I moved from Chicago to Sterling, Illinois, and I got married. I got into a speaker program. I won the speaker program. I got to talk about
Incredible.
um, manifesting your desires. 2 hour talk, and I shared the stage with some really huge motivational speakers. One of them was Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. There was Lisa Williams and Nita Marjani, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Um, just amazing, amazing people. And I wanted more of it. I wanted more of, how do I make an impact? How do I get people to say yes to themselves? Because I know that after my parents' death, I kept on saying no to me.
Yeah. This saying no to ourselves can be one of the biggest tragedies. This taking care of everyone else before taking care of ourselves. Do you think people have to experience a high amount of pain in order to do something, create something beautiful? Is the pain what's necessary for that? Or what's your experience with it? Because you're in an extreme situation, and someone, maybe they feel like crap, and well, my parents didn't pass away, but I'm in my head, and everyone has a different journey, right? So what would you
Everyone
say
has their own
about
journey. Yes, I would agree with you. Everybody has their own journey. And I don't think you have to have pain. I think you have to have the desire to make a shift. What's working for you right now, currently, maybe you're not aligned with it. Maybe you're sitting back and going, there's got to be more. And if you have that desire for the more. That's what it is. I mean, when I talk about manifesting, I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people, you have to have a desire, you have to have an idea, you have to take action. The action
Yeah.
step is the most important piece. There has to be passion and belief and faith and trust. And then the other part is thankfulness and gratefulness. And people are wanting more. People are needing more. I think in today's world, when it's like, how do I do better? Well, instead of reaching out here for it,
Hmm.
it's already inside. Your job and my job is to get them to look at the stuff that's blocking them from their possibility. I
Yeah.
think we all have the possibility of doing major things. If we choose, it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what motivates me. I don't have to have my situation was I needed to feel it to speak from that place.
Yeah.
I needed to um, I needed to date two narcissists and marry a third one to understand the
Yeah.
to understand the part of being such a huge empath and
Yeah.
how do I how do I choose better? So,
Yeah.
I think for me personally, things happen, but for somebody else listening, I don't think you have to go through pain. You just have to have the desire of wanting to be and to do better. And it doesn't have to
Incredible.
be perfect.
Right. Just a concept, right?
That's it.
Not a reality. I
Right.
So a lot of I think it's easy to get tripped up. And before even the show had started, Elias and I were talking on some different aspects of what he's working on and how to the beginner it can be just so far out that it's hard to like want to get started or some fear behind it to kind of get some terms rocking and rolling. Will you explain what intuitive energy is? What's going on with that?
So we all have intuition, right? I mean, I'm sure you are like, yeah, I don't know why I turned left. I was going to turn right, but I just had a vibe of going this way. It's like that. It's not a thought, it's a feeling. It's
Okay.
just a doing. So when you are looking at intuition, we're all born with it. We're all,
Mhm.
the mom that's like, oh, something's wrong with my kid. I don't know why. I need to call them up and just check in. Or
Yeah.
maybe you're like somebody, you're thinking of someone and then they called you. This is
Mhm.
all energy. We're made up of energy. Atoms are energy. The air, this table is all made up of energy, right?
Yeah.
So if something has a feel to it, we need to connect to that feel. And when we connect to that feel, we can then tap in to hear what's for our highest good. And I
Mhm.
think that fear that blocks us is the part that gets us from not listening. So intuitive energy, yeah, I mean, do you naturally do it? You probably do. Do you label it that? Probably not. It's a hunch, it's a feel, it's a
Yeah.
vibe.
Mhm.
You go with your gut. That's
Yeah.
intuition.
Okay. So to improve this, maybe on a very just practical day to day, like what's like one step forward into the right direction of using intuitive energy for like your benefit?
So I would have to say to use it is to start learning how to meditate. And I'm not sitting,
Mm,
I'm all about props. So hang on one second. It's not
okay.
sitting here, crossing your legs and going,
Mm.
oh,
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. I'm sitting
Yeah.
and going, what do I need to buy at the grocery store? What else do I need to do? For me,
100%.
washing dishes by hand, I zone out and I get
Yeah.
all these great ideas. Folding clothes. Those of you that still like to iron, I'm one of those people. I can
Oh
zone
yeah.
out. It's getting out of your monkey brain and
Hmm.
getting into a direction of just being grounded, of feeling at peace, so you can see the signs that are happening all around you. And I think that's the part. We start from there. We start with a simple 2 to 3 minute meditation. And some people go into 15, 20 minutes. But when you're just breathing, we taught this at massage school, diaphragm no, it's too early in the morning. Breathing from your diaphragm.
Yeah.
Breathing from your
Hmm.
diaphragm. That
Hmm.
is a way of understanding, just that simple taking breath. And then that can lead
Yeah.
into meditation. And I think from there, you can tap in by, you know, just trusting your gut, trusting your heart. I think everybody says, this is what I'm thinking, but what are you feeling? And you're going to be
Mm.
wrong. I'm going to tell you, everybody's going to be wrong. Nobody is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be human. I think things happen for us, not
Hmm.
to us. They happen for
Wow.
us so we can learn.
Yeah. Yes, this it hits home. I really loved the prop, by the way. It gets your
Thanks.
attention. But this
Yeah.
this thought of meditation not needing to be some deep, deep feel like Zen out in the mountains, like butt naked with nobody around you for 30 days versus just washing the dishes. And over the line, I've always wondered why me and my girlfriend, we genuinely, it sounds odd, we like cleaning the house and making it look tidy and like hosting people. It makes us feel like, I think the process of that kind of gives like a state of flow of
Hmm.
enjoyment. And it's, it's interesting how that can be meditation for you. So if you're listening, you don't like just sitting cross-legged, or you don't want to just take a moment to breathe, maybe just finding that focus, no distraction, activity, working with your hands or something like that.
Even walking outside, even, if you put on music and you're walking outside, it's not, again with the prop, it's not sitting there doing this while
Mm-hmm.
you're walking, or who's messaging me, who's messaging me. It's none of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. It is all about, like you said, taking that moment or moments to just be with you. Music is great. I mean, I do, on TikTok, I'll do a guided meditation for
Nice.
a couple minutes, and then I go into my spiel that I do. But it's even picking a word. Like if you picked a word, like I can grab something from a book, open it up, and go, okay, today my word is progress. I'm going to meditate
Mm.
on the word progress, and I'm just
Yeah.
going to say, okay, what do I need for progress? And that's the thought that goes out there. Then I'm just going to say, okay, well, first of all, let me pat myself on the back. I did better yesterday than I did the day before. That's progress.
Yeah.
I'm committed to not a New Year's resolution, but doing an intention with an action. That's progress. I'm not
Yeah.
going to beat myself up today. That's progress. So I'm going to now focus on show me, align aligned with what I need to be progressive each day, each moment. Show me
Yeah.
ways that things are just going to come to me. And then I say gratitude. Then I say, thank you for today. Thank you for the progress already, as if it's already happening.
So this ability, it almost seems like it's a muscle that you strengthen over time, this graciousness that you have with yourself. I know one of my faults is I could I got a really badass group of people around me now, and some of them make a lot more money than I do, and they're a lot more farther down the road than I am, and that's who I want to be around because they're pulling me up.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm like, oh, geez, am I just not good enough, or is this going on? Like all this, like you talk about with like the chatter of, and it seems so hard nowadays not to just compare yourself to other people.
So I hear you, and I understand, and that was me as well. Like why, I'm writing a book. My next book is still in the last stages of editing. It's called Changing the FU into Thank You: How to Flip the Script
Mm,
and See the Gift. So I'm like, well, is it going to be a bestseller? Is it going to do this? I'm looking at other people that are doing this workbook type of thing, and I'm like, well, mine isn't long enough. It isn't as detailed as this. I don't have as many examples. Why am I comparing myself to somebody else? Because they're not me. They're
Yeah.
not me. They're not going to have my flair. They're not going to have my sense of humor. They're not going to have my viewpoint. And
No.
everybody is saying the same thing regarding the topic of manifesting or the topic of mindset. This
Yeah.
is my unique way of getting the message across in a different way.
Yeah.
One somebody on here says, Kristen says, ego. Yeah, we get
Yeah.
stuck in that ego, and that's the piece that we're missing. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't. If we can let go of that perfection piece, Brene Brown says perfection is there so people won't judge us.
Mm.
And that for you maybe is like, well, I'm not there where I need to be. You know, everybody else is doing better, but they're not you.
Yeah.
They're not you. And if I look back now being 59, just turned 59 a couple days ago,
Oh, happy belated.
and thank you, thanks. And I look at it, I'm like, crap, I'm 59. You know, why is this stuff happening? Why didn't it happen when I was 39? Why didn't it happen when I was 29? Well, at
Yeah.
29, I was not where I needed to be here now today.
Yeah.
I feel that the experiences that I had, like you are connecting with people that are where they want to be or better. I
Hmm.
am aligning myself with people, like I tell my clients, I'm like, you know, if you want to call in people into your circle, ask for
Hmm.
people that vibrate at your energy, your vibration or higher.
Yeah.
That's what we're attuning ourselves to. We're attuning ourselves to the possibility of being better, and we are our own competition.
Yeah.
Like I always say, and Delora just put it, I always say, yes, I can, because yes, I am.
Yes, I can, because yes, I am. That's it's really beautiful to kind of keep the on, like, the discovery and like learning more about what it is that you do. Can you explain like what a, I think everyone hears it and has a different interpretation of it, like what a shaman is, shamanism, like what does that, what is that? How does that relate to your work, or like you learned
Sure.
about it?
I did a 2-year apprenticeship program in shamanic studies. And basically, that is using tools that are out there of nature, that allow you to tap within. Um, for example, we do this great exercise on my retreats where people bring a rock, just like a regular rock, not a crystal, but a rock.
Okay.
And I'll have them pair up and I have them speak about their rock as if they were they were an ant walking on that rock, or if they were a bird flying over their rock. Well, I'm noticing there's there's two sides to this rock. The one side is kind of jaggedy and there's little crevices and it feels like I have to walk down a valley, but then it's a really cool climb up and it's smooth. The way that they speak about their stone, their rock, is what's going on in their life. Or they, or if I
Interesting.
say, well, now, it's fascinating to me. It's just fascinating how we can take time out and learn from things of nature. You know, I have them go outside and sit outside and just journal. I have them look at a mirror and have them really look at themselves and what do you see about yourself. So these tools that I've learned is there, and in no way am I a shaman. You know, I haven't studied with a shaman for 30, 40 years. When people say, "Oh, I'm a shaman, I'm a shaman," I'm like, "Really? Have you been to Peru? Have you been to, you know, wherever you're studying, Ecuador, wherever you're
Yeah,
studying,
I had a
and have you
different
worked with
picture and
somebody?"
image of it.
Yeah, and that's not me. You know, have I used some shamanic practices? Sure.
Yeah.
Have I done guided journey to meet your animal spirit guide? That's very much a shamanic practice.
Yeah.
People do vision quests, and I think people of indigenous tribes, you know, us in the Americas are really thirsty and hungry for being better. And this is a
Yeah.
way of having something that's tangible. Like, you know, I'm Greek, so I don't come from a Catholic background, but like a rosary. A rosary is something tangible that someone can use to pray to get them in the mindset. If somebody's holding a stick and this stick is from a tree that's how many years old, but they get
Yeah.
wisdom or they can go within, great. It's something tangible. I actually have a medicine cloth, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's right over there.
Okay.
It's right over
Hard to point, yeah,
there.
backwards
There it
behind you.
is.
Okay.
There it
Okay.
is.
Beautiful.
And, you know, I've worked with a stone, let's say about fear. So it was an exercise about fear. And my instructor, she's like, blow that fear into the stone and just blow it. And it's going to hold that energy of something. So if I'm meditating, going, what do I need to focus on? What's getting in my way? And I'm really drawn to the stone. I'm like, oh, that's the thing, that fear. That's
Mhm.
that fear piece. So I don't even know if I'm explaining this correctly, but it's just a feeling that you get where you're like, oh, this is what this is where I need to pay attention to. Or if I have a picture of my mom and dad and myself on that medicine cloth, on that meditation cloth. And I'm just drawn to there. I'm like, sometimes I'll just say, hey, mom, dad, you know, I need a message. I need something. Show me what I'm missing. That's why I always have my parents over my shoulder whenever I'm
Beautiful.
on a live, because I'm like, they're right over my shoulder. They're always looking. So I think it's a way of I think a true person that does any shamanic practice is they take the unseen world and the seen world and they blend it together.
Yeah.
It's like you have one foot in each world. And I think that's what's happening. We're actually doing starting in April, we're doing a 7-month program
Oh,
in,
cool.
and it's called an Earth Honoring Apprenticeship Program, where we're using different elements. We're using earth, water, air, and fire each weekend to
Okay.
focus on what's going on. So, water would be all about emotions, it would all be about the flow of life. And that whole
Yeah.
weekend is, where do you not flow in your life? But we're
Oh,
using stuff about water, like, okay, when you're washing your hands, are you understanding that you're cleansing? Yes, you're cleansing your hands, but are you taking that moment to go, I'm letting go of those things that no longer serve me, just by doing cleansing. So it's, again, it's getting stuff of nature
yeah.
that goes with the everyday world.
It seems and shout out to my mom, always talking about, it seems the closer we are to nature, the happier and healthier we feel. And I can't help but now I'm super interested in everyone should definitely check this out. This, like, okay, water, how are you flowing in your life? I can think of several areas that I have like blockades that I'm like building myself that could definitely and whether I navigate it. You know that I'm sure you've heard the analogy of like life is like a river, or that's where
Mhm.
my headspace went. Do you mind giving a quick little like short description on the other ones, like fire? How does fire
Sure.
relate? Or
So,
earth?
yeah. So, earth is all about grounding. It's all
Okay.
about, where are you? Are you being present? Are you grounded? Are your feet touching the earth? Are
Yeah.
you really looking at what your building blocks are? What is your foundation? Water,
Hmm.
like I said, is all about um, it's all about flow. Air is
Hmm.
also about flow, but it's all about our mind. It's all about what goes on up here, and I'm going to
Hmm.
go higher, and up here. What is the connection to spirituality? When we look at an eagle soaring, why are we always so amazed? Everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's an eagle!" Whoa," you know, and they're just
Yeah.
like, it's, you know. But what does that mean to be free? What does it mean to stretch your wings and fly? What does it mean to do? And that's why the indigenous cultures are they look at everything. They look at all the animals. I'll go into that in a quick second. And then fire is all about, some people are like, oh, you're going to get burned. There's that fear piece. But with fire, when you have a stick and you throw it in the fire, it transforms, it shifts, and it has this alchemy of moving and just taking on something else. What do you
Yeah.
throw into a fire? So on my retreats, what we do is day one, we'll write something that we want to let go of, and we'll put it in
Beautiful.
the fire, and we'll throw it in the fire. And the cool thing is that you watch that piece of paper burn, and then you watch the smoke go up. So for those people that are spiritual, it's like, okay, that smoke is going up to God. God is hearing our prayers.
Yeah.
So, or the universe or spirit, whatever you want to say.
Right.
But it's taking that piece of paper that was one certain thing and transmuting it into something else.
Damn. Yeah.
So
This
it's fascinating to me.
being able to let go, sometimes it seems like however the tactics or strategies you do it, the like this feeling of like release and giving yourself permission seems to be like pretty consistent on so much of this stuff. And I mean, doing these retreats, so you have one coming up on talking about some of the workshops that you have going on. And one of my visions for this year is to do more speaking in person. I talk behind my little square a lot every weekday morning at 8 a.m. live. But getting in person, will you talk about like the difference of like gathering together and doing this like
Mm.
with a group? Like what's the vibe or intuitive energy or just like some aspects that you absolutely love about and recommend? And what's the difference between that and online?
Sure. So, well, thanks to the beautiful world of the pandemic and COVID, we learned a lot to be online, and we
Totally.
learned a lot about connection
Yeah.
online. Um, and then we had to get back to what a combination of how do we get back to being in community in person. So when people are on a retreat, they walk in Friday scared crapless. And I always make a joke because it's me and I like to use
Yeah.
humor. And I'm like, "Did you
Like
bring the
I love
live?"
it.
I'm like, "Did you bring the live chicken?" People are looking at me like, "What?" I'm like, for the sacrifice before we start. And so it's crazy. Or people will know that I do intuitive work. And
Yeah.
this one woman shook my hand and she's like, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you." And I shook her hand and I knew she was Spanish. I know a little bit about Spanish. So I shook her
Uh-huh.
hand. I'm like, "Santa Maria de Jesus," and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you." So it's about coming together in community, saying that, "Hey, Tanner, your stuff really mirrors mine, and I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Wow, I can look at your stuff and I can see your story within my story."
Yeah.
Or you just asked something that I would be afraid to ask. Thank you for asking that. Or I really, I really got moved by what you did out there. I really got moved by your story. I got really moved by your experience. I connected to you in a different way that I wouldn't be able to do on a phone. Thank you
Yeah.
for being you. And I have to tell you, when I started doing these retreats since I've moved out here, most of my people from the retreats have come from TikTok. And
Really?
yes, you get 15 to 30 people that come
Hmm.
together. And I have a good handful of people that have been on every single one of my past 6 retreats.
Yeah.
And the bond that happens in one weekend is
Yeah.
just crazy because we let go of the pretense. We let go. It takes a while to get there. Some people it takes till
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon,
Yeah.
but we give them permission to just be.
Hmm.
We give them permission to allow them to connect in a way that they haven't before. And I
Yeah.
think it's an honor to see. And they can do it online as well. If if we set that up that way. That's why I have a big fat Greek mouth, and I will go ahead and be vulnerable. I'll tell stupid stories. I will tell stuff that my parents are probably like, why? We did not raise you like that. You do not share your dirty laundry out on the public or talk
Yeah.
about, nothing that's really good, right?
Hmm.
But if I'm not vulnerable, then they're not given the permission to be as well.
Yeah. This, I mean, missions, companies, whatever it is, it seems like it can go only as far as the leader is, and kind of being able to bring people together. It seems that it's so hard to find, maybe not to hard to find. It seems like so many people are missing connection. Now it's really easy to go from your little square to here to, I use my phone as a camera so I can't pull it up, but
Right.
your little square to there. And the longer, I mean, nobody's good at anything they don't do all the time. And so if you disconnect from it long enough, it seems very timid, but like you're talking about, it seems so special. If you had to give any, just some very basic, like fundamental stuff on people who want to connect, people who want to do something like this, where would you, what advice would you have for them?
Um, I'm going to try to make that a short answer. I would say that make the investment in themselves first. Say that they deserve it, that they're worth it, and they want to be better. So I would say anything that's going to get them, again, connect, educate, and grow.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to get them to do that is just a plus. I would say, take some classes, do some classes, check out the work that I'm doing, check out, if they want to do the drop the mask that's coming up on February 3rd, if they want to start from there, do it. But I really feel that you have to be able to connect to the facilitator. If you're not connecting to the facilitator, and if the facilitator, whoever, it's myself or anyone else, you have to be able to say, I trust your vibe. I trust who you are. I trust what you're showing in this world.
Hmm.
And, I've been on some retreats where I'm like, what the hell did I just waste money on that for? I was like,
Yeah.
ugh. And, but that taught me that was a great lesson of what not to do when I started my retreats. And it
Yeah.
was an awesome experience. I've learned from people that I've um, followed or I've mentored with on, I take their best qualities and go, what is that within me? So if
Yeah.
they want to, if you people that are watching, if you want to learn about something, I would say just jump in. You have to just try, or I don't
Hmm.
like the word try, attempt to do something, get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I've listened to your stuff as well, and I like when you tell people to get them to move out of their comfort zone, because that's when the change happens. That's when the shift happens, is when
Yeah.
people will just say, again, yes, I can, because yes, I am. They can do it. They just have to believe in themselves and say, I really want to do it. Teresa says, just added a retreat to my bucket list. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Adding, that's a must do, can do. That's an
yeah,
incredible shout out.
yeah.
The so coming to, I wanted to ask you about, you'd mentioned, and I made a note about it, this fear of success.
Mhm.
And if it wasn't true, it wouldn't have, it kind of wouldn't hit me so hard. I think this is a lot more common than people think. Like the fear of failure, we hear that all the time. But what does it mean to be fearful of, like, success?
So I'm going to ask you,
Hmm.
what are you afraid of making it big? Are you afraid that you don't have the resources behind you? Are you afraid that you're going to have imposter syndrome? Are you
Yeah.
afraid that who's going to want to listen to this? Who's going to want to buy this? Who's going to
Mhm.
want to buy that? Okay, so
Mhm.
I'm in these two chapters. I'm like, who's going to want to listen to me?
Mhm.
I think the fear of, oh my God, now this community has grown from, 20 people listening to me to, you know, thousands of people. Am I going to live up to their expectation? Who is that about, them or me? Don't ever put me on a pedestal. Don't ever
Yeah.
put me on a pedestal because I will never reach that expectation.
Yeah.
But if you say to yourself,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I'm just doing the work that I feel moved to do, and
Yeah.
each day I am successful in what I do, then that fear of success, like, let's say I'm going to ask you, where were you last year?
Mm.
How did last year shift from you from this year? What did you learn from last year that made this year better?
Yeah.
And now that you know that, what is it that you want to do this year? What is
Yeah.
a goal? We all talk about goals in our work. We talk about goals all the time. So,
Mhm.
what goal do you have for this year? If it means to increase your visibility, or let's say, hey, you're going to do your own retreat.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got to do? That's something that I want to do. Well, how can I be successful at that? Well, you have to go on one. You have to see, does that vibe with you? You have to see,
Mhm.
what did I like about that? And then you have to start doing workshops, and you
Yeah.
have to start doing stuff online. And then from there, you're interviewing all these amazing people. You're
Yeah.
interviewing 10 or all these amazing people. You've got a wealth of knowledge already at your fingertips. And now you're going to compile it and say, look at the success that I've had. You've had 429 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you love what you do? Of course you do.
Yeah.
So if the love is there and the passion is there, you're already successful.
Damn. Yeah. This his one of the hardest names ever to pronounce. It's a little early, but Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I love his book about flow, and he talks so much
Yes.
about how like I speak because I genuinely enjoy speaking, not because I want external validation, or I write because I love being able to formulate like deep intuitive thought and put it into something tangible, not because I want to be praised for it and this. And I think the fear of success kind of just maybe from personal story, someone can relate. It would be missing. So right now I have a very structured like home life. I'm very close with my partner and my family and stuff. And I see the work and the long hours that some of my peers have. Like my current business coach, he built 2 massive companies, but he worked a lot. And sometimes I feel like I've already won and I'd be missing something to have the impact that I want to have, if that makes sense. Like I want to have a big impact and I want I want to have 1 million people do my 1-page life plan course. And the work that it's like, is the work worth it for the time that it could be spent kind of just sitting in our back little yard with the fountain and like petting my dog and stuff like that? Is the sacrifice worth it? These are just some thoughts that are going on in my head. I don't know if hopefully someone can like relate to that, but
And I totally hear you, but it's carving out that time to do it. I work a lot. I know that I work a lot. And I have gotten people to volunteer. There, I have moderators on TikTok. I have admins that help out. I have people that help me with the creative stuff. Some of them are online with me right now. And,
yeah.
if I didn't have that support system, I would be working even harder. And we've all
Mhm.
heard this. It is really about working smarter than harder. It's all about time management, and it's about also allowing a balance. And that's funny because now that I say that, we're doing a retreat. It's different than some of my retreats. It's a wellness retreat, and that's happening April 12th, 13th, and 14th, and that's going to be at Skamania Lodge in Stevenson, Washington. And
Oh, beautiful. Cool.
it is about work-life balance, and we talk about the wheel of life. We talk about all the aspects that come with that, typical life coaching stuff.
Yeah, right.
But how do we find it? How do we find that balance? We're all looking for it, but how do we de-stress? How do we connect in a different way so we can say, okay, you do have that time to sit in the backyard, pet the dog, be with your girlfriend, do all that stuff that you need to do, and still work on a successful business.
Yeah. So these are, we talked about stuff that's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then we've also talked about how we have changed so fast in how we interact and the technologies we have. Do you mind kind of talking about some of the older traditions that are some of your favorites that you still apply to your own life today? And what are some new thought theories that you're really enjoying? Maybe we'll just start with some older traditions to keep it kind of simple. What are some old traditions some of your favorite traditions that you've liked from past in history that you think are still ever present and living a happier and healthier life today?
I think it's just having time for self. I don't think we do that. I think it's, when we look at monks from Tibet, they're all into silence. And I don't know if I could ever do a silent retreat. Trust me.
Oh,
It would go nuts. I would go nuts. But taking that time, even if it's 5 minutes for quiet, I think we don't allow that. There's so much stimulus around us nowadays.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember back in my day when we only had like 7 or 8 channels on the TV.
Yeah, right.
Now people like click, right? Right. So I think that simple thought of being mindful within self to really allow that time for self. You gave a great example. Why is being in the backyard, petting the dog and being with your girlfriend a great time? Is that something that you learned? I think we go back to, I'm just going to be dramatic about this. I think we go back to what makes our heart happy. If we are happy in our heart and we are knowing that we're good people and that we're just showing up doing the best that we know how to do, can we ask for anything else? If I was to leave this world today, I would say that I would want it to do more, but today I am doing everything that I know possible that has my heart in it.
Wow. Are you scared?
Practice.
Yeah. Are you scared of death? What's your relationship with it?
No, not at all. Not with the work that I do. Not at all. We throw in that woo-woo stuff of me doing intuitive work, and I have to tell you, learning about the psychic mediumship realm, so against my Greek Orthodox faith, but when I was in church, and let me just tell you guys, Catholic Church is nothing like Greek Church. We have 3-hour services on a Good Friday. It is because they have to do the Greek. They have to do the Greek and the English. It is long. Sometimes it's 4 hours, depending who's there. Right. On Good Friday, my mom was sick. My dad was in a nursing home for the first time, and I was sitting by the pew. I did the sign of the cross. I'm praying. I'm short. I'm 5'4", so I always like to get at the edge of the pew so I could see what's going on. And I felt this little person's hand on my shoulder. I'm like, oh, it's an old man, old lady. I just started learning this intuitive work stuff. And in my ear, I could feel the breath. I could hear someone talk to me. And what I heard was, one of your parents won't be here next year for Easter. I opened my eyes. I'm like, what? And I looked, nobody was around me. There was nobody there. And I wasn't freaked out because I was in church. So I was like, I still scared.
Totally normal.
Right. Totally normal because it's a church.
Right.
My mom died the following year.
Wow.
3 weeks before Easter.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know that information, I would have probably had a nervous breakdown and probably been on some massive antidepressant drugs.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I think having that gift of that message
Hmm.
is important. And I want to tell everybody that's listening, we all have that gift. All of us. It's born with us. We just don't use it. It's like you said earlier, it's a muscle. We don't use it. But
Right.
I think knowing that stuff helped me not be afraid of death. Doing the
Wow.
mediumship and learning from some great, amazing people that are well-known Hay House authors and have been
Yeah.
doing this work over 30 years, I realized that love is eternal.
Yeah.
And that is one feeling that never ends.
Yeah.
And it can go across the stars and the moons and the galaxies. And it is something I know that these two beautiful people are guiding me every single day.
Wow. Yeah. That's really beautiful. So well said. These kind of finding the comfortability in it and the inevitability in it. I've been really over the last 2 years or so, I've been enjoying it sounds, you're talking about something more, but death. But it's like it shows how amazing, say, whatever we're doing right here, right now is. The conversation with your partners, the petting the dog, or just like being able to move your body. How for so long I took that for granted, but now continue to see like how special like the movement, the energy, and the love really is. It's just being like okay, just in okay with like that type of dialogue, with seeing like how beautiful it is. It's like it's not woo wooey. It's like it's real, and
Right.
it's really beautiful. So having an open mind and an open heart um, really really can help. Just makes everything so much better. I feel like I've actually lived a lot more the last 2 years than I did like my entire life,
Right.
which
I,
yeah,
and here's the beauty of that. When people are like, well, I'm gonna swear on here for a moment.
that's okay.
When
You're
when
good.
people are like, oh well, grandma was a bitch when she died, and she's probably up there still bitching. And what I tell people is like, okay, she's gonna come through as saying that I was a bitch, but that's a human quality that they let
Hmm.
go of when they cross over. The
Yeah,
only thing that's available on the other side is love. And
yeah.
they've learned all those lessons and like, oh, you know what? I'm hanging around because I was an asshole to you when I was alive,
Hmm.
but now I learned that that was my human self. The soul self is completely different. And I
Hmm.
think that, you know, if we take in today, starting today, and just being grateful for everything that we have thus far. Yeah, do we drive that Porsche? Do we have 1 million followers? Yada yada. Not
Hmm.
yet. But if
Yeah.
we are true to ourselves
Hmm.
and we remain with integrity, we remain with heartfelt connections,
Yeah.
and we are just our truest self,
Hmm.
I think anything is possible.
Damn, couldn't agree more. I I feel very lucky for just what all the things I get to listen and learn from, and kind of continue to take that in. It's so beautiful. It really is. If you wouldn't mind kind of describing what you've talked about spirit, God, and these things. Like, what does divine mean to you? What does divine mean to you?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. I mean, divine intervention. What do you say? I mean, I think we put labels on stuff. I mean, trust me, everybody that's listening, I come from a really strong Greek Orthodox background, and doing the
Mhm.
woo woo work really has taught me that this is labels. I mean,
Hmm.
whether we say, and I make a big joke about this, so pardon me, I hope I don't offend anybody. When I'm like, whether you say God, Allah, Buddha, or Shaka Khan, it's all, whatever is for you. I
Hmm.
think that divine energy, that something that is not tangible,
Hmm.
that comes from source, that comes from universe, that if we have to put the God word on it, comes from God, whatever it is, but we can say that entity has never been here, or if they have been here, they have something very different. We all have a piece of divine within us. We
Hmm.
don't tap into it.
Yeah.
And that's about getting to the heart. Like when we see, that's why when people say namaste, they say that namaste saying is the the divine within me recognizes the divine within you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. I think it's really, really cool. And I think that if we look at spirituality, I mean, let's face it, people go to a doctor for their body. People go to a psychiatrist or psychologist for their mind, and people work on their emotions, and they go to church for spirituality, or they go to a
Yeah.
temple or whatever they do, right?
Hmm.
I think we're missing taking those three things and bringing them together, because
Yeah.
we are all body, mind, spirit.
Yeah.
We have to, why are we treating it all differently?
Yeah.
We are of body, we are of mind, and we are of spirit. So I think divine to me is encompassing all that is.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It's very well said. Well, before we get into the kind of this last chapter of, and we're going to be doing some coaching exercises together to kind of get a little better look on inside of Elias and all the great stuff that he's doing. So I wanted you to just touch on the importance of learning to listen. The importance to learning to listen. I think it's whether it's political, business, or just family relationships, I think listening can change the world. What's listening mean to you, and how can people improve it?
Well, first of all, are they listening to themselves? Are they actually listening to the blah, blah, blah that's coming out of their mouth? Are they just
Yeah.
talking to talk? Are they just
Hmm.
talking to talk? Because I know a lot of people that I've come across
Hmm.
in some circles that I'm just like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But even in that, I'm listening to their blah, 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 and I'm like, wow, they're not grounded, or
Yeah.
wow, or the opposite, wow. Oh, I just need to listen. I can listen the whole day here. I can
Yeah.
just take in everything that I'm feeling. And I think listening, what it does is it shifts our mind to allow a change
Hmm.
that will affect us today, tomorrow, and that could inspire us to
Yeah.
help make a change in somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's all about listening. Are we really listening? Because I know, and I'm sure you do this too in coaching, um when when a couple, let's say, has an argument, and they're like, well, you said this. Okay, what did you hear me say? I heard you say blah 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 blah. And then I'll say, that's not what I meant. Let me try that again. Here's what I meant to say. This is that, and blah, and fill in the blanks. Now, what did you hear me say? Oh,
Yeah.
were they listening, or were they already in their head going, well, I can't believe, and they already have an assumption that they're
Hmm.
attached to, and they're taking that assumption. They're not listening to anything I'm saying. They've
Right.
already created the answer. They've already created the circumstance.
Yeah.
They're already 50 steps ahead of me
Hmm.
when I'm still trying to explain the why.
Yeah. So building that muscle and actually listening, a deeper level of
Actually
listening.
listening.
Yeah. I think it's just, I mean, really, when you look at what we actually have, attention and time. And when you give that to someone who you say you love, it seems like that is, like, to me, that feels like what's most admirable is like the divine, like that moment and that energy in space when like you're hearing someone you love like say words. Like it's wildness to me now that, I mean, I'm saying this from a state of like trying to do better, to listen to. Sometimes I go back to, I'm never going to run a marathon in 0 minutes and 0 seconds, but I'm trying to reduce my time maybe over as we work on this. But yeah, listening.
Have you ever sat with your girlfriend and held her hands, knee to knee, no phone, no nothing, and say, "So how was your day today?" And she's going on and she's telling you your day, and you're not saying anything, you're just listening, and you're remaining eye contact. And then you say, "What else happened? Tell me more. And how did that make you feel today? Tell me more."
Yeah.
Where you're just listening. And then she asks you, "How was your day today?" And all the response could be was, "Tell me more."
Yeah.
That in itself shifts a person's dynamic with their loved one.
Yeah. That's beautiful. This, I am very proud of, I'm sure she's listening to it right now. My girlfriend, I'm sure she had a comment. She said that this is her favorite episode so far. So you're in the good graces, Elias, and we got to keep her
Awesome.
happy, right? Happy.
Right. Thanks, Danielle.
All right. Perfect. So let's go ahead and jump into our last segment. We're just going to do a quick, brief coaching exercise. If you guys ever want these questions or you want more information on this, don't hesitate to reach out. Let's go ahead and jump to the handy dandy chalkboard. We're going to change the formats here a little bit. All right.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is we're going longer today because I just can't stop listening to Elias and all the nuggets that he's got for us. So first question, we're just going to do some powerful cues to kind of get the brain going. So what is one thing that you love about yourself? What is one thing that you love about yourself?
Do you want to ask me, or are you asking the people?
I'm
that are
asking
watching?
you. And feel free if you
thing,
want to comment your
okay.
answers, but these are for you, Elias. But yeah, answer
One
in the comments.
One thing that I love about myself, I'm going to say I'm going to say my humor. I really love my humor.
What is your number one goal for 2024?
My number one goal is to be a little bit more organized.
Organization.
Yes.
What does that look like?
What does that look like for me? Well, when I leave this office space in my home, my desk does not look like what it looks like during the day. That when I wake up in the morning, it is clear, it is clutter free. So I don't have to, you should have saw the piles that were, I did it on New Year's Day. I'm like, I am just getting rid of the clutter. I am reorganizing everything, and it just makes me feel good to sit here because I spent a lot of time here.
Yeah.
So it's clutter free.
Okay, clutter free. Is there a time? Is there how like what's an action step that you can take to make sure that this actually happens?
An action step is to make sure that I finish what I said I was going to finish on my top 3 priorities of my list. That way,
top 3.
Yep. That way, if I say, "Oh, I'm working on a new retreat idea," I don't have all my notes here. I'm like making sure that that is top priority, that I finish those 3 things. I might have a list of 20 things, but those first 3 things are done because it takes the most time for me.
Beautiful. I really like Brian Tracy. Shout out to him. He calls eating the frog. You do the hardest thing, your hardest task in the morning. I'm really big on momentum and doing for me it's like creating content and stuff. So hence the 8 a.m. show. Again, thanks to Elias for coming on so early out in the West. But just eating the frog, top free, or maybe for our listeners, I like the ABCDE method where you just rank what you have to do today, ABC, and just make sure that, like you're talking about, we get those priorities done. Okay, on to the next one. What's your top accomplishment in the last year? What do you think is your biggest accomplishment?
You know, the very first thing that comes up is I have gained, because I'm a year into my marriage, so I would have to say my marriage.
Beautiful. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
What are you learning about marriage?
What am I learning? I am learning to be able to, first of all, I'm learning that I don't have to do it by myself. I'm learning,
Partnership, yes.
right, and I'm also learning about being able to receive.
Yeah.
That I don't always have to be the giver. That it's okay to receive.
That's beautiful. So say let's go back 1 year. How are you different now? What's different?
I'm not as hard on myself. Kind of like,
yes.
you know, that it's got to be this way. Why am I not here? I mean, I still do that. I look at my peers and go, why am I not accomplishing what I should be accomplishing? And you know what? They're not me. I'm not them. And I'm just learning to pat myself on the back each day.
Yeah. This the sense of progress and what it is that we're doing. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Who are you comparing yourself to? Me, myself, and I continue to take the steps forward. But feel free to rewind over those questions, folks, if you want to go back over them and play around with yourself, use them as journal prompts, either or. It's always a fun exercise to invest the time into our most important asset, which is ourselves. Beautiful.
Yep.
Well, we're going to talk about how can people get to know you? How can people learn from you? What's the best way to work with Elias, understand Elias, and kind of get all of this amazing knowledge and nuggets out that we were talking about today?
Well, best way really is to, go to the website. It's right there, eliaspatras.com. Follow me on social media. I do a lot of stuff on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I have guests that come on every Saturday. I'm going to have you come on.
Let's do it. Let's rock and roll. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, totally. I think that would be great for you. Each month I have a theme. So I have a lot of stuff. I actually will host people if they're doing a workshop. I love to give back. And if you click back to, there's a workshop starting next week that I'm hosting. And she's on here. Dolores on here, and it is that one right there. It is adding sparkle to your life. That's coming up. That is Dolores is a color coach, and she is using color to help people understand what they need. So that's something really great that's coming up. We have the retreats. I have a guest every Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and each week is a different guest, but the theme is always the same. for the month. This theme is create. So we're going to
Oh,
talk about
beautiful.
all the kind of create. Come to a retreat. Come to a retreat, whether it's
Oh,
online or in person. Come to a
yeah.
retreat. Last year we did a retreat in Ecuador, and that was really great. And there's
That's
some
awesome.
testimonials on the retreat page, and you could look at the retreats there. I've got a lot of stuff going on. There's a save the date one, um, which is in April. The drop the mask is the one. That one is embracing empowerment and strength through vulnerability. How
Mhm.
how are those people that are the fixers, the control freaks, the people pleasers? Oh gosh, I mean, I'm the vice president of the formal people pleasing committee, so
Yeah.
I understand that part. You know, where do we not put ourselves first? Where do we say everything is fine? And we all know what fine stands for: effed up, insecure, neurotic, and evasive. So
Mhm.
how do we shift that energy? And I'm also teaching a great intuitive circle group where if you want to learn a little bit about psychic development, a little bit about mediumship while still learning about yourself, self-improvement, this is
Mhm.
a 1 year program. We meet once a month for 90 minutes, and then there's a private Facebook group. It's all about, again, I go back to all about connecting, educating, and growing. I think
Yeah.
if we just connect to ourselves, we talked about earlier, connecting to the divine, connecting to
Mhm.
others, that's how we educate. That's how we educate ourselves and educate one another so we all can grow and be the best people that we can be and really make a shift in this world.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Well,
Truly,
Elias,
truly.
stick around with us. We're gonna have his resources, website, YouTube, book resources, and so much more in the description and in the comments. So check that stuff out if you would want to work with Elias. Elias, stick around for a moment. We'll be chatting after the show. But for the rest of you guys, in case you needed to hear it, I love you. You're a badass. You got this. And let's have an incredible, incredible Thursday. Cheers,
Thanks,
friends.
everybody.
Catch you around. See you bright and early tomorrow morning, where we have our next guest coming on over here. We're going to have James Gates. He's a marketing ghostwriter and just overall really badass guy. So I'll make sure to tune in tomorrow for another guest coming on the show. It's going to be a fun episode. Can't wait. But we'll be going live 8 a.m. Central Standard Time every weekday morning to help you become the best version of yourself. Cheers, everybody. Have a good day. Thanks.